Hello, hello. Welcome to this week's episode of The Bold Leap, where I talk to amazing women who have made the leap from a traditional job to an online coaching job. And this week, I'm really excited to hang out with my friend Lisa Klein.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me.
Hey, thanks for joining. I'm so excited for this conversation. Before we get well, now I see we're live. I just got the notification. I usually say, if anyone's joining us, can you just give us a little emoji or a thumbs up that you can see us, that you can hear us, let us know. I think we're all good now. Yep, we're good. We're good. So let's just get right into it. I like to give people time to join, but then I'm also aware that there's a recording and I don't want to talk. I don't want to do a preamble too much for people that watch this after the fact. So why don't we start with who you are and the work you do in the world?
All right. Well, currently, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Lisa Klein. I'm a business coach, process strategist. I am passionate about all things lead magnets, email marketing, and really helping people simplify, automate their businesses to grow and be scalable without burning out.
I love that. Where have you been all my life? Oh my gosh. Okay, well, I'm very excited you're here and I'm very excited to learn more about that. Can we start? Can you take us back to the beginning when you worked corporate? Because I think you were in finance, right?
Yes, I started my career out of college in accounting. So I was auditor, Big Five at the time, Big Four. I don't even know what it was, what it is now. I've cut that out of my life. But that's where I started in accounting and did accounting and then corporate finance for several years, and knew early on, even probably in my college days, that this wasn't the fit for me, but it was like, I want a job when I graduate and this is the path I'm going to take. So I stuck with it. And then I made the decision, or I should say the decision was made for me. I was actually on maternity leave with my daughter, and I was given the option I'm outside of DC, and I was given the option to relocate to Kansas City or take a package. And I never in my wildest dreams thought, oh, I will be a stay-at-home mom, right? I envisioned the family, but the kids going to daycare and I would be going into the office. And that's kind of what I was expecting all the time. And when this opportunity was kind of handed to me, this or that, I said, okay, I will take the package, and did the stay-at-home mom thing for several years. I was also working part-time, doing accounting work then too, CFO for a small company. But it was really difficult because even a part-time job, as you know, it's still full-time, and trying to find the pockets of the day while I was taking care of my children at the time, then had my son as well. So I had two small kids, working and all of that. And finally was like, I'm done. I need a break from all of this.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So you went from working full time to, oh, that's so terrible though, because I remember, I hear this story a lot where people get offered packages, or sometimes they don't even. Like I definitely interviewed at least one other person who got let go when she was on maternity leave. Like she didn't even have an opportunity to come back.
I was very lucky. Very lucky.
That is it's just so terrible when I hear stories like that. So you decided after you were doing all of that to, like, what was it that made you decide that you want to become an online coach?
Yeah, so it was definitely a complete 180, or I don't even 360, whatever you want to call it. It was at the time my mom was actually going through battling breast cancer. So this was back in 2013. And at the beginning of 2014, my husband challenged me to a 90-day fitness program. Now, health and wellness was not on the top of my to-do list, right? I had two young kids, and but it was also like that aha moment where I was like, if I can do something to take care of myself, now is the time. Like, I need to do this. I committed to my health and wellness journey January of 2014, and a couple months in, it was that time where I was like, if I can do this 30 minutes a day. Like, I want to tell all my friends and family, like, they need to do this too, because it literally transformed my life. And I don't mean just from like weight loss perspective, but my mindset, my productivity, my energy, like all the things, right, that comes with it, just by taking time for myself, 30 minutes, in the pockets, whether my son was napping or at night after the kids had gone to bed. And of course, I slowly shifted into it being my morning routine. But that's really what kind of spurred my motivation, excitement, passion around helping others, because I wanted them to have that same feeling. So by June of 2014 is when I started my health and wellness coaching business.
Wow. So you did a 90-day challenge, and then you decided, oh, I'm going to scream this from the rooftops or all over the internet.
Yep, exactly. Yep. Back in the Facebook days and all that. Yep.
Oh my gosh. Like, I can't even, first of all, when you were saying that, I always want to say, like, tell me what you did so that I can want to work out 30 minutes a day, because I will tell you, I pay a lot of money to have somebody. Hi, Christine, if you're watching, ensure that I show up for myself. I'm not quite there yet in my mindset. Like, I want to be, but and I don't want to make excuses. I just feel like it's so hard to find time for yourself. Never mind if you have 2 little kids.
Yeah. And that's exactly what it was. That's what I call myself. I was an accountability coach for those that needed some extra support, some guidance, some motivation, just the daily check-ins. Like, you can do this, sometimes can go a long way. So that's exactly how I started my coaching business.
Okay, cool. Because I feel like so this was 2014, so 11 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I feel like online coaching wasn't that big of a thing then, was it? I don't even remember. I didn't even know what like online coaching was until I decided to be like, basically a year before I decided to become an online coach myself. I had no idea that it was such a prevalent, lucrative industry.
I was in the world of Facebook then, and I migrated to Instagram. So that's where I spent most of my time. And then I committed to LinkedIn in November of 2023, kind of when I was getting out of that space and moving more into the business coaching.
Okay. So take us through. So you did this for, gosh, how long? 10 years?
Almost 10 years, like 9.5 years.
Oh, wow. Okay. And then, but now you're doing something totally different. What was there a catalyst? Did something specific happen? Did you get tired of working out? Like, tell me more about that transition.
I still work out. But yeah, I think it was just over time I knew there was something, just pretty much the same thing of what happened when I started my health and wellness coaching. Was like, I knew there was something more, right? Like, I was going to bed at night thinking, like, what else can I do to help support other people? And I actually just shared about this in a recent post last week. I was getting, and now here I am on Instagram doing my thing, creating my reels, all the things. And I would have my peers, people in my community coming to me, social media managers, other health coaches coming to me and asking me, how are you doing this? How are you running an online business? How are you getting leads? How are you staying consistent with your social media? All the things that come with running an online business, right? There's so many pieces to that puzzle, which I always say, like, there's pieces that are bound to pop out and you got to figure out how to put them back together. So I was helping my friends, my colleagues, my peers kind of help put those pieces back together for them, for their businesses that they were running, mostly showing up on Instagram. And so in the back of my head, after these calls, and I would get off these Zoom meetings with friends, and I was like, I just gave her, 3 hours worth of my time. Now she has a lead magnet, an email nurture series, all the things. And so it just felt good. It felt like this is that path that I need to maybe see if this is what I should be doing next, because it just felt so good to, here I was helping people on their wellness journey, which was amazing. And I loved being a part of it and being part of people's transformations. But it was kind of in parallel that now I can help people with their businesses and make an impact that way.
I love it. I feel like the first time we talked, you made a big impact on my business, because I feel like you can't help yourself, right? Like, that's how you know that it's really your thing? Because I do remember having that conversation with you. We weren't even talking about business. I think it was just to kind of, our first conversation was just to get to know you. And I don't even know what I was doing, probably a master class. I don't remember, but I had something going on. And you, by the end of that call, had mapped out like my whole email sequence. I remember turning on my voice note to record the call because it wasn't a recorded call. It was just like, hey, nice to meet you. Let's take our relationship, from the comments section to at least a Zoom screen. So that's so cool. And are you loving it? Like, talk to me about how your journey from health and fitness coach, health and wellness to business. It's been how long now? 2 years?
Not yet. Nope. A little over a year.
Okay. Oh, wow. Cool. So were you, I feel like you were doing business coaching when we first met though, no?
I might've been doing a little bit of both in the beginning until I worked, finalized the clients that I was working with one-on-one.
Okay. So take me through like the mindset shift you had to make because when I started my journey, I went from corporate to like online coach. It was hard. It was hard. And then last year I pivoted from career coach to business coach, which I'm going to say was very easy. Like it really was a natural, it was very easy. People similar to you, people were coming to me saying, can you teach me how to do what you did, which totally made sense. And then transitioning from career coach to business coach, it just kind of makes sense because it's the next evolution. So talk to me about that evolution for you. Like, was it a big mindset shift? Do you feel more aligned? Like, what was the difference from that to this?
Yeah. So I still remember the conversation that I had with my husband, probably right here in this room. And I said, closing the doors on Lisa Klein Wellness. And he's like, are you sure you want to do it? Right? Like asking all the questions. I'm like, no. And as soon as I made that statement kind of out loud, because here I was doing things on the side and helping, some of my colleagues and stuff with their businesses. As soon as I made that announcement, it was like a weight had been lifted off my shoulders. And as you mentioned, I felt so aligned. Like this is what I needed to be doing.
I love it. Oh my gosh. I can totally connect with that because I actually don't want to talk about it right now, but like I'm launching something new and I feel the same. Like I feel so like, this is it. I know it sounds so ridiculous, but like you learn to trust yourself and really just allow yourself to pivot and give yourself grace and permission to just do the thing you're meant to do in this moment.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Yep.
I love that. Okay. So now let's talk about what you do now and how you help your clients because I love what you do and your marketing and how you position yourself. It does seem niche. And also every single thing you post, I feel like I need that. So, right. So, I mean, talk to me about that a little bit. Like, was it a big change? Did you automate systems? Like, talk to me about how you decided specifically to do lead magnet. I don't know anybody, for example, that's posted, I'm a lead magnet expert.
Yeah. So I think it was when I started, right? I wanted to be in that space. I'm like, I'll help whatever your needs are. I can help you. I can help, whatever it is. And that's just my personality too. Like whatever you have going on in your life, how can I help you? How can I support you? And really what it came down to was the clients that were coming in were all dealing with the same similar things. Whether you're a mindset coach, a health coach, a career coach, everybody needed a way to, instead of just slapping up their offer to say, right, they could have the best offer and the best service out there that they know their audience needs, but people aren't seeing it. People aren't seeing it from one post or one email. So really taking them through that process of, okay, what do you have in a way of a lead magnet? How are you becoming more visible? How are you growing your network? And again, it goes back to all those pieces of the puzzle to make and scale and grow your business. So it was really honing in on where do we start? Because people were saying, no, I got sales covered. Or if I can just get people on discovery calls, I know how to close, right? I have this great offer, this great product, whatever it is. And so it was kind of taking step back to say, okay, you have these big goals, but how are you going to get there?
Mm-hmm.
How are you going to get people into your program, people in the door? Well, you have to kind of start all the way back here. So that's where I meet people and say, okay, let's start here to get you there. And similar, right, in people's health journey is you have big goals. You might have a big weight loss goal. You might have, a marathon you want to run. Well, you don't get there overnight. You have to start in the beginning and take those baby steps, including automating, including creating a lead magnet and email sequences and all that.
Yeah, I love it. I feel like you did that for me in like 30 minutes one day. Like you're so good at it. So what are some of the common mistakes? Because I see your content and you talk about like lead magnets a lot. And every time I read it, I think, am I doing what she said? Let me think about it. So what are some of the common mistakes you see people making when creating a lead magnet?
Oh, well, I will use myself as an example. So when I was health coaching, one of my very first lead magnets was a recipe guide. Now, everybody loves recipes. Everybody loves recipes. They want all the free recipes and all the things. But there was a disconnect. So I was getting lots and lots of opt-ins. People were giving me their email, no problem, because they wanted this free resource. It was a whole week meal plan, breakfast, lunch, dinner, all the things. But there was a big disconnect. It didn't fit into my sales funnel to get them to sign up with me for my one-on-one coaching package. Sure, there could have been, maybe a meal planning consultation or some, one-off call to help them so that they could do this on their own. But it didn't really relate and fit into my sales funnel for my one-on-one coaching program. So I do see that often where it's like, okay, you're getting a little piece of what your audience needs and what they want, but you have to then look at it. Where does this fit into your sales funnel?
So what did you change it to?
So I did, then I did a masterclass, a workshop on creating healthy habits and teaching more about habit stacking and all those things, because that's kind of where I was in my journey as a health coach and accountability coach was, taking fitness, nutrition, mindset, all the things, and helping them create healthy, sustainable habits without restriction. So that's where I was.
Okay. And so what was your approach when you moved over into business coaching? Because it's very different.
Same,
right?
Yeah. It's like, as far as running an online business, right? It's the same.
Yeah.
And your marketing and your strategy and all that is very similar. It's just your messaging that changes. So luckily I had, this email platform and the systems and stuff side of things in place. But then it was just showing up on another platform using LinkedIn. So I started a little bit and made my pivot while I was here on LinkedIn, but it's just knowing where your audience hangs out, really understanding your ideal client. I always say, like, what keeps them up at night? What's stressing them out in their business? Being able to solve a specific problem to help them.
Cool. Well, I think what keeps business owners up mostly is making money. I mean, depending on where you are in your business, but because I help people at the beginning of their journey. So their concern or their big fear is always, how am I going to make money? Because they're usually transitioning out of some sort of corporate job. So that's always the thing. What would you say has been a big, I want to say, like, lessons learned from a mindset perspective? Like, was there anything that you had to overcome regarding, I don't know, like pricing's a big one, for example, that I help people with, because people tend to undervalue themselves and their services. Do you find that with your clients a lot? You have to help them with something like that, or is it something else?
I feel like everybody's different. So I don't see one generic across the board. In some cases, like, for example, today I've been talking about an email nurture sequence, and I just shared a resource that's available. And one of the common things is people don't feel like they're bugging people by emailing. And so they're hesitant to send more than that one email. So that's, that mindset shift of like, no, people need to see things like 10, 12 times now, right? Everybody buying persona is different. And the same thing with posting and showing up on social media. It's like, you can't just post once about your offer. You have to continuously talk about it. Coming here on a live, being on podcasts, becoming more visible, talk about it with, people you meet at the grocery store, wherever it is, like have something you're so proud of that you want to share it everywhere.
I totally forgot about that. I will say that, oh my gosh, you just totally reminded me of the beginning of my journey when I didn't want to inundate people. And I remember my business coach saying, no, you have to email them regularly. I'm like, well, I think once a week is regular enough. I mean, who wants to hear from me more than that? Yeah, that's so interesting. Is that something you ever struggled with, or did you always feel like you were good in that regard?
I would say probably to your point, I probably struggle with the pricing.
Okay. Yeah.
But I'm working through it, right?
Yeah, it's so interesting, right? The things that we all struggle with, like depending on where we are in our journey and depending on the story. I mean, I guess what I would say is everything's a story, right? So choose one that serves you. I remember actually learning that lesson from a coach a long time ago. She said to me, choose a story that you want to believe instead of one you don't want to believe.
Yep.
Which is hilarious because you would think that you would just do that anyway. But I think our brains are wired to think of everything that could possibly go wrong instead of everything that could possibly go right.
So, yep, exactly. Instead of the what ifs, switch that to imagine if.
Imagine if. What could possibly go right? Or what would it look like if everything worked out in my favor?
Yes.
I love that. So what is some advice you might give to somebody who's considering transitioning from one niche to another niche? Because I remember when I was considering that, it was, I don't know, I struggled a little bit.
I would say taking that time to really do the market research, really understanding what your audience and what your ideal client's needs and wants are, because, right, you can make that transition and think, I have the perfect solution. But if you're not doing any of the research behind it, you might be spending all this time creating something that there isn't a need for.
How do you know if there's a need for it, right? Like, how do you know if there's a need for, because it could be a need for something, but you just haven't marketed it or you're not in front of the right people. Like, how do you know?
So I would say exactly that. So showing up and talking about it on LinkedIn through your posts, through, asking, call to actions and call to engagements on posts. You can get so much information. Typically you'd see in my posts that I'll leave, like today, for example, a question with like an ABC, kind of like a poll. So you can use polls on LinkedIn, on Instagram stories. And in that, it's very easy for somebody to give an answer. So for my post today, a lot of people were telling me C. So I need to go back and dive into, okay, what C was and be able to create more information and put more out there and share more about what C was.
Whatever C was.
Yeah, I can't remember now. About that was for emails. I think it was clicking links and things and engaging inside emails. But so similar to that, being really strategic in what you're sharing on LinkedIn or on social media so you can get more information from them so that you can take the conversation from your post into the DMs and start asking asking those really strategic questions to get more information. Thanks, Lauren. She added a D. She added D to my ABC.
You left the D off your poll. She's so funny. I totally missed that today. I'm sorry. I literally wrote a note though, C to A with ABC. Yeah. Like, this is whoever's watching, this is a masterclass in lead magnets and strategy and moving people to DMs, which I love.
And also in just conversations, like in coffee chats and things, people you're meeting, and you're taking the conversation where can be a little bit more relaxed, but really getting that information that you need from them. So the more conversations that you're having, whether it's from a discovery call, whether it's from a coffee chat, whether it's from former clients and customers that you've worked with, always have that like exit survey, get feedback from people that you've worked with so you can really understand them more, or even by taking more of the information from their intake forms. You know, do you see something consistently coming up with what people are talking about that they're struggling with and what their needs are?
Oh, that's such a good idea. That's a good idea. You're full of good ideas. I love that you have so I'm struggling with my question because I feel like you're so strategic.
Thanks.
How do you get that way? I think it's just so amazing. It's so amazing because I find your posts to be really engaging and strategic, which just goes to show that it's possible. Like you're just very, very good at this.
Thank you.
Yeah. So do you?
Oh no, at first I was going to say maybe it just comes naturally, but I also feel like I've been in that space for so long. Like I said, when I started health and wellness coaching, I was on Facebook. I was doing, and I was learning how to effectively communicate, to receive engagement, to get the feedback. So it's not just like, have a good day or a great post, being able to really take it a little bit deeper.
Mm-hmm. And how would someone do that in the comments? Because I know that, at least for me, the comments is the comments is where the magic is. I feel like that's how we met. That's how we all met. And I do feel like the strategy on LinkedIn is different. Every social media platform is a little bit different. I never really ran my business on Instagram, but I did on Facebook. When I first started, I ran paid ads on Facebook and I had a Facebook group, and it was, not only was it a lot of work, but sometimes it just felt like I was talking to myself all the time. And I don't find it's like that on LinkedIn. So can you just talk a little bit about your experience on LinkedIn compared to, it sounds like you were pretty successful on the other platforms?
That just made me laugh when you said Facebook ads, because back in the day, and I wish I remembered what year it was, I ran Facebook ads with like videos of me working out. Like, I hope those have been all erased from all the platforms. So
that's amazing. I used to run, my business model was running Facebook ads to like a webinar that was recorded with a call to action to book a call. And that was like the discovery call. Yeah, it was pretty effective. It was just very, very, very expensive and cold audience. Right. So I definitely prefer LinkedIn. But how has your strategy changed on LinkedIn compared to Instagram, for example? Because it sounds like you were on Instagram.
So on Instagram, again, I'm not a social media manager, just based on my experience. On Instagram now, because I feel like LinkedIn now is more of what Instagram was, let's say 5 years ago.
Oh, interesting.
Where more, you're sharing your story, you're sharing your journey, you're doing the storytelling, but also people are coming here for educational posts too. They want the tips, they want the information that they can take and run with and take action on. That's where I feel like Instagram was, but recently, in the last 2-3 or so years, I feel like has made that shift of, they don't want the educational stuff there. They want it to be, if you're like lighthearted, humor, relatable, engaging, but in a different kind of non-business way. So it's definitely, I feel like I know people that still, post on both platforms, post the same content. I would say that they are two totally different beasts and kind of look at them as two separate platforms. That's my opinion.
Cool. Yeah, I've never really, I mean, I have an Instagram profile. I mostly post, I don't actually post there anymore much, but I used to post mostly just food pictures and like things that I would make, because I actually love entertaining and I love hosting parties. And but I never really used it for business. Probably because of the business I do. I don't know. I think they all have value.
Mhm.
But I don't know. I love LinkedIn. What do you love most about LinkedIn?
I mean, it sounds so cheesy to say, but obviously the community, and just, yeah, I feel like the real relationships that are here,
Yeah.
just being able to connect and network, and the support from everybody, if they shout outs and tagging and like referrals. So yeah, I
Mhm.
just think it's a great platform to be on.
I love it. I love it. Well, I mean, this is how we met. And then we ended up, for anyone who's watching who doesn't know us, hi, thanks for joining. Lisa and I met in real life in Nashville, and I see Lauren Thompson is here, and she was in Nashville with us. And Renee organized the whole thing. She better say me, she said.
We wouldn't have been
Renee.
there without you, Renee.
Yeah, Renee, we love you. That's so awesome. But I do love LinkedIn for that. I mean, I've met real people who are my real friends. Yeah, people, I know that it's hard for some people to believe, but I remember when I've had a LinkedIn profile for 18 years. 18 years. I don't even know how old LinkedIn is, but it's not much older than 18. But I used to use it literally just for job searching, or I don't even know. Well, maybe back in my recruiter days. I was a recruiter back in many lifetimes ago. And so I think that's probably why I started here on LinkedIn. And I didn't use it for anything.
No.
Yeah. So
Yeah, I'd have to, I'm like, what year was it? So 2008 was when my daughter was born. That was probably when I got on, when I was looking for a new job. So my connections were people from college and people that I had worked with. And that was it. So when I joined, or when I came back on here for my business in the fall of 2023, it was like starting over, right? Starting fresh.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I can't even say enough things about LinkedIn. I love it so much. We are streaming live. We are streaming live on YouTube too, but it's so new for me, YouTube. I'm not, do you do anything on YouTube?
Not anymore. I used to do things for my old business, but I haven't recently. But
Okay.
maybe it's something I will start.
Well, I just think I do use it for, I have a channel. This is streaming to that channel. People could be watching for all I know. Hi. But I do like the capabilities there, and you could grow quite an audience there. I think if you, I think all the social medias are all the social media platforms. Oh my God, I can't even speak English. Talk to me a little bit about your personal journey. I like to share the stories. I feel like we all have a story to tell, right? And we talk about all the business stuff, but not necessarily, you don't have to share all your business, but just how you feel like really aligned to your business now, and how that translates to other areas of your life. If it does, if it doesn't.
Yeah, for sure. And I think even going back to the biggest impact, or the biggest transformation I had, was on my health and wellness journey. And so starting that business for me was huge. One, it was, a big leap from corporate accounting and finance, and doing something totally new, and then being able to be, and even still now, being a part of my client's journey. For me, that fills my cup. And so even at a young age, right, it was like, oh, I wanted to be like a teacher, but no, instead I went into accounting, right? I had that in me, where it's like, I wanted to help others and make an impact in others' lives, where the corporate accounting world, you weren't doing that. Right. I had my, red pen out and ticking and tying numbers. So I feel like for me, has felt what has been in alignment for me, and just really, like I said, fills my cup, so that it doesn't feel like work. I mean, it's work, but I enjoy it. I look forward to, I always say my favorite part of the week is when I get to connect live with my clients, and just being able to be a part of their success. Like, their success is my success. So
I love that. I love that. I mean, I feel the same way, right? Because when I was in corporate, it felt so, the crazy thing is when I was in corporate, I didn't know I was misaligned. I had no idea, right? So you say you always knew you wanted to help people, you want to be a teacher. Do you remember why you went into accounting? I'm just curious.
I pretty much followed in my sister's footsteps,
Mm.
and that's what she did. And so when I was in college, I was like, well, I'll do what she's doing because I've heard I can get a job, right? And I just kind of followed that path. I didn't have any other direction. My dad owned his own business, so I was kind of like, let's get into business.
Oh, okay. So you associated accounting with business. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's so interesting. I just wanted to get out of the small town I grew up in. So I went to university. Nobody in my family had done that before. And then after that, I knew I wanted to move to the big city. So I did that. And I knew I wanted to get a job on Bay Street. So I live in Canada. So the Bay Street is like the Wall Street in New York. So I knew I wanted to work downtown in a big fancy office and make lots of money. I mean, literally, that was the only prerequisite. I had no idea what alignment was. And so I think that's probably why my first business I built was really misaligned. Like I was all out of alignment. I had no idea what alignment even meant.
Yeah.
So
sure.
When you started your health and wellness journey and that business, did you just decide that that's something you wanted to do like after you said you did the 90-day thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
You did the 90-day thing.
So it was like, okay, if I can do it, so can you, right? And that's kind of being able to be in that mindset to help others shift their mindset. Like you can do this. You don't need, and that's why I said, make it convenient. I work out from home. I don't need to go to the gym. It doesn't matter if there's snow on the ground. It doesn't matter any of those things. You don't need a babysitter. So being able to kind of drop the excuses to prioritize yourself and really recognize the importance of prioritizing yourself so that you can pour into others. We have the laundry list of excuses, whether it's kids, work, the weather, too tired, all the things, but really you'll drop those excuses once you make yourself a priority, able to kind of take the action. And the same goes for, being a business owner. It's right. There's all these things that we want to accomplish, but we have to start. We have to pick one and just take those baby steps.
I love it. I love it. What would you say are the 3 biggest lessons you've learned about business or your business after 10 years, more than 10 years being in business for yourself? Because not every day I get to talk to someone who's been in business for themselves for so long, because a lot of the people that I talk to, their journey is much newer than yours.
How? Like, what are these lessons? Maybe I still need to learn.
Last week I asked Ricky, and then Ricky asked me the same question. I was like, whoa, who's the interviewer here?
Yeah. I mean, I would say, like I said, being able to, I would say boundaries. I probably have a couple posts on this. So definitely one, boundaries, because when I was early on in my business, right, I'll take whoever wants to work with me. You want to work? Okay, right. You're in that mindset of this kind of the scarcity mindset of you're not sure where your next client is coming from. So I'll take you. So being able to recognize no, it's okay to say no, thank you. If you don't feel like you're the right fit for somebody, being able to refer them to maybe somebody else in the business that would be a better fit for them. And also those boundaries of, I used to take calls at night. I used to take calls on the weekends because it was what worked for my clients. And now here's my schedule. If it doesn't work for you, then, sorry.
Yeah.
So being really just holding to those boundaries and so you don't burn out, so you can enjoy work, so you can show up with the energy and excitement to help your clients. So that's a big one for me. I'm also a planner. So having time blocking, batching, all the things, which I actually, most of that I learned in my health and wellness journey, being able to time block habits, creating those habits, meal planning or whatever it might be, kind of translates into the business world as well. And then most importantly, giving yourself grace. I don't think we often do it enough, especially as high achievers, high performers. You know, we want everything to be perfect, but there's no such thing as perfect. So being able to recognize in yourself that you are making progress. And that's why I always say, just take that one small step. You might have these big goals, that's great, but break them down into small actionable items so that you can really feel accomplished and have that, you know, celebrate the small wins along the way.
Oh yeah, celebrating. So I was just talking to someone about this morning because we don't celebrate enough. Like, I feel like we don't celebrate enough. I feel like I celebrate a lot. And even though I do, I'm very intentional about celebrating every day. But I don't think that we celebrate enough or give ourselves credit for how far we've come, because sometimes it feels like we're going, maybe it's just me. Sometimes I feel like I'm going nowhere. I'm like on the merry-go-round when I really want to be on the roller coaster. And I just think that celebrating is really, really important.
Yeah. Yeah. And to your point, like, take note, like, at the end of the day, look at what you've accomplished, right? Sometimes we feel, and I used to feel this often, sometimes still do, is, right, I'm successful when I'm productive, right? That feeling that need to be productive all the time, and you're not really recognizing what you are accomplishing. It might, like I said, it might not be all 10 things on your list, but if you got one thing done, like, that should be celebrated.
Yeah. And I think that you said something so important. Like, we feel like we have to be productive. I know that sometimes I'll even say to a friend, "How's your day?" And she'll say, "Productive." I don't know what that means. Like, we associate that with that being good. Like, "Oh, my day was great. I was so productive." Okay, well, what if you weren't productive? I have another friend. She's a business coach, and she has really learned to prioritize rest. And she's taught herself that the more I rest, the more money I make. And it's so interesting because I've watched her evolution from being like an overworker, right, to the point of burnout, feeling like she has to be on all the time, to now she's just happy and I mean, she still works really hard and does, but she's generating more revenue than ever. And it's because she's prioritized rest, which I find fascinating.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I'd love to say that I'm there. But I do say the more fun I have, the more money I make, because fun is one of my core values. So you mentioned time blocking. I'm always curious the things that you would time block, because people ask me this all the time. I time block too, because if I don't time block, I feel like then I'm doing things in real time, like posting in real time, writing emails in real time, when really I want to write emails for a week or a month, or, so what, can you just tell me a few things that you would schedule as time blocking?
Yeah. So the big thing for me is I don't take client calls on Mondays or Fridays. So that kind of leaves my calendar open up for things like this, or for appointments when I am going to be out of the house. That's kind of how I set that up. But also, like, to your point, I have one for content creation. So I have it over here, but with my sticky notes. Hang on, I'll see if it's. I have my content calendar for LinkedIn. So that's my social media. So I'll usually at the start of the month, I'll plan out my content for the month and just topics. I'm not actually writing all that. So I'll have a time block for planning out my content for the month. And then I will also typically weekly have a time block for writing captions so that I can schedule. So nothing's really on the fly. That's not how I like to work. But that's me. And then same thing for emails. And I typically just do my regular emails to my subscribers. I do 2 a month. So it's not anything like huge, but so I will typically write those 2 emails at one time and plan ahead for those as well.
Okay. And then what if you have a launch or something like that?
Lots more goes into the launching.
Afterwards, yeah.
Yes. Yep.
Cool. I feel like I've asked you so many questions about business. Is there anything I haven't asked you that you'd like to share with our audience?
I'm looking around. I'm like, what all the people?
Someone asked me that question on a podcast. That's why I'm asking you. She's like, Is there any question that you wish I would have asked you? I was like, maybe. So now I'll ask you that question because I thought it was great.
Yeah, no, I'm like, I think we've covered a lot.
I feel like we've talked about so much. All
been
right.
talking.
I'm gonna give people some time back in their day because I feel like, remember when you worked corporate? Well, I remember when I worked corporate because it wasn't that long ago, and people would schedule a meeting for an hour and it should have been 15 minutes. And then they would just talk about nonsense for 45 minutes. I feel like our audience got the best 45 minutes of you. And you shared so much, especially around boundaries, time blocking, giving ourselves grace, transitioning, being in alignment. I mean, I don't even have notes here, but I feel like I retained a lot.
Well, if anybody has questions, I was going to say, drop them in the chat. I'm happy.
If anyone has any questions, Lisa's like masterclass. Lauren and Renee are cracking me up right here in the comments. If anyone has any questions for Lisa, let us know and we'll answer. And Lisa, where can everyone find you if they're not connected with you?
Yeah, find me on LinkedIn. Send me a DM. Introduce yourself. I'd love to connect.
And she will answer. She'll reply. Lisa's the biggest cheerleader out of all the cheerleaders on LinkedIn. She checks in with you. She doesn't just say she will. She does. She does it. I can say this. She sent me DMs when I was on vacation, when I was visiting my family on the East Coast. I just adore you. Thank you so much for hanging out with us today. And thank you so much for sharing your time, your wisdom, all of your life experiences and business know-how with us. I really, really appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much. Bye, everybody. We'll see you next week. Same time, same place.